My name is Nora Whitfield. I'm 29 years old and I make a living teaching schools, restaurants, and families how one careless bite can send somebody to the emergency room. So when my brother slid a steaming bowl of crab soup in front of me at Thanksgiving and said, "Let's see if she's really allergic," I knew immediately that the room had stopped being a family dinner and had become a test of how far cruelty could hide behind laughter. I didn't touch the bowl. I didn't pick up the spoon. I just stared at the orange oil floating on top and felt every eye at that long dining table turn toward me like I was the entertainment between turkey and pumpkin pie. My aunt gave a loud little laugh and said, "Come on, it's just a joke." She's always so dramatic about seafood. That was enough permission for everyone else to laugh too. My mother looked embarrassed, my father pretended not to hear, and my brother leaned back with that proud smirk he wore whenever he thought he had trapped me. Then he tore off a piece of dinner roll, dipped it into the soup, and waved it near my face like he was proving science wrong. I pushed my chair back and told him to stop. He didn't. He said, "One bite won't kill anybody." And before I could reach across the table, a small hand grabbed that piece of bread, thinking it was part of the meal. 2 seconds later, the laughter disappeared. The little girl beside me started coughing, her lips swelling as her mother screamed her name, and my brother stood frozen with crab soup dripping from his fingers. Before I tell you what happened after that, tell me what the weather is like where you are. Does it feel calm, heavy, or strange today? Because the rest of this story is about the moment a family joke turned into evidence, and the day my brother learned that some consequences arrive faster than an ambulance. The first sound that broke through the panic was Chloe's mother screaming, "Chloe, breathe, baby, breathe." Chairs scraped back, plates tipped over, cranberry sauce spilled across the white tablecloth, and everyone who had been laughing 5 seconds earlier suddenly looked helpless. My brother, Grant Whitfield, stood there with the wet piece of bread still in his hand, crab soup dripping from his fingers onto the floor. His mouth opened like he wanted to talk his way out of it, but no words came. I grabbed my purse and dumped everything onto the floor. Phone, wallet, keys, lip balm, all of it scattered under the table until I found my EpiPen. My hands were shaking, but my mind went cold. I shouted for someone to call 911. Aunt Marlene, the woman who had laughed and said it was just a joke, was now sobbing with both hands over her mouth. My mother froze beside the turkey platter. My father kept repeating, "What is happening? What is happening?" Then Denise Wallace, my parents' neighbor and a retired paramedic, pushed through the crowd. Her voice snapped everyone back into motion. She told Chloe's mother to lay her flat, told me to hand over the EpiPen, and told my cousin to put 911 on speaker. Denise checked Chloe's breathing, saw the swelling around her lips, and gave the injection through her tights. Chloe cried out, then gasped, and that tiny breath made half the room start crying harder. My own wrist was burning where the soup had splashed me, but I barely noticed. Grant finally whispered, "I didn't know she would eat it." Amelia, Chloe's mother, looked at him like she wanted to tear the truth out of his throat. "Why was there crab near her at all, Grant? Why were you putting it in Nora's face?" He tried to laugh, but no one joined him. "It was supposed to be a prank," he said. "Nora always acts like seafood is radioactive. I just wanted to prove a point." That was when Aunt Marlene broke. She pointed at him and said, "You told me to bring the crab bisque. You told me to make it strong because you wanted to mess with her." Grant snapped, "Shut up, Marlene." But it was too late. The room heard it. The 911 dispatcher heard it. I heard it. And I knew then that my brother had not made one stupid mistake. He had planned a Thanksgiving joke around a medical condition he knew could kill me. The old Nora might have cried or begged someone to understand, but the woman kneeling beside a child fighting for air did something else. I stood up, grabbed my phone, and started taking pictures. I photographed the bowl at my place, the bread on the floor, the soup on my sleeve, the pot on the kitchen island, and the ladle beside it. My father snapped, "Nora, stop that. This is not a crime scene." I looked at him and said, "A child is being treated by a paramedic because of that bowl. It became a crime scene the moment your son turned my allergy into entertainment." The ambulance arrived 9 minutes later. The paramedics took over, checked Chloe's oxygen, and told Amelia they needed to monitor her at the hospital because allergic reactions can return. As they wheeled Chloe out, Grant stood near the fireplace, pale and sweating. He kept saying, "I didn't mean for that to happen." But he never said, "I am sorry." When the ambulance lights disappeared, everyone looked at me like I was supposed to make things easier. I picked up the bowl from my place, covered it with plastic wrap, and took one more picture. Grant stared at me. "What are you doing?" I said, "Preserving evidence." And for the first time that night, he looked scared. By midnight, the Thanksgiving house no longer smelled like turkey and butter. It smelled like panic, coffee, and shame. Nobody touched dessert. The pumpkin pies sat on the counter while everyone spoke in low voices, as if Chloe were not in an emergency room because of a joke my brother caused. Amelia had gone with her daughter in the ambulance. Denise followed to explain what treatment she had given. I wanted to go too, but my wrist was swelling where the soup had hit my skin, and every time I remembered Chloe gasping, my chest tightened. My mother tried to put a cold towel on my arm, not because she suddenly understood, but because caring for me gave her something to do, besides look at Grant. My father paced near the kitchen island like the real tragedy was the trouble this would cause. Grant had disappeared into the guest bathroom for 20 minutes. When he came back, his face was washed, his sweater was changed, and his expression had shifted from fear to calculation. He walked toward me slowly, palms raised. "Nora, I know it got out of hand." "Got out of hand," I repeated. He swallowed. Obviously, I did not want Chloe hurt. She was not even part of it. "Part of what, Grant?" He glanced at our parents. "It was supposed to be a family joke. You always make the allergy thing such a big deal, and I thought if everyone saw you were fine, maybe we could stop treating every dinner like a legal contract." My laugh came out sharp. "I work in food safety because people like you think warning labels are decorations." My father stepped between us. "Enough. We are all upset. This is not the time." My mother nodded quickly. "Your brother made a terrible mistake, honey. A stupid mistake. But he is your brother. Thanksgiving is about family." Amelia called 30 minutes later from the hospital. Chloe was stable, but doctors were keeping her under observation. They said the reaction had been serious enough that if Denise had not been there, if I had not had the EpiPen, if the ambulance had been slower, the night could have ended differently. Amelia asked me one question. "Nora, did Grant know that soup had crab in it?" I looked across the kitchen at him. He was watching me like a man waiting for a verdict. "Yes," I said. "He knew." My mother made a wounded sound, as if telling the truth was the betrayal. After the call, my father asked me to sit in the living room. I knew what was coming. Not concern. Damage control. Dad lowered his voice. "Nora, what happened tonight was awful. But if this becomes public, it could ruin Grant. His company works with restaurants and hotels. People will never understand the nuance. The nuance is that he put crab soup in front of someone with a shellfish allergy and waved contaminated bread near a child." My mother started crying. "Please do not say it like that." "Like what?" "Like the truth." Grant exploded. "You are acting like I tried to murder someone. You always take one uncomfortable moment and build a courtroom around it." Then I remembered being 15, lying in an ER bed after shrimp tongs touched the chicken tray at a family party. Grant had been there. He had seen the oxygen mask. He had heard the doctor explain how deadly shellfish exposure could be. He had joked about it for years after. I stood up. "You knew what could happen." His jaw tightened. I did not think it would actually happen. That sentence changed everything. Not "I did not know." Not "I forgot." Not "I am sorry." I did not think it would actually happen. I went upstairs and called Carla Medina, a civil attorney I had once hired for a contract dispute. It was almost 1 in the morning, but she answered. I told her everything. The soup, the bread, Chloe, the EpiPen. My parents already trying to soften the truth. Carla said, do not argue with them. Do not threaten them. Save every text. Photograph everything. Get the hospital records when Amelia is ready. Find the camera footage if it exists. And Nora, do not let anyone throw away the soup. When I came downstairs, Grant was gone. My mother said he needed air. I checked the kitchen counter. The covered bowl was still there, but the pot was gone. My body went cold. Where is the rest of the soup? My mother blinked. Maybe Grant cleaned up. I went outside to the trash bins and found the pot liner under 2 garbage bags, still smelling like crab and cream. He had tried to throw it away. I took pictures, sealed it in a freezer bag, and put it in the garage freezer. My father watched from the doorway. Nora, do not tear this family apart. I closed the freezer door and said, Grant already did. I am just making sure nobody pretends it stayed whole. The next morning, my phone looked like a battlefield. Grant had sent 7 messages before sunrise. The first said, I am sorry if you felt attacked. The second said, you know I would never hurt you on purpose. By the 4th, his mask had slipped. It was a prank, Nora. You are being insane. By the 7th, he was bargaining. We can tell people Chloe grabbed the bread before I noticed. That is basically what happened. I screenshotted every message and forwarded them to Carla. She replied, excellent. Do not respond. Chloe stayed in the hospital until Saturday afternoon. The official report listed an acute allergic reaction after exposure to shellfish-contaminated food. Amelia sent me a photo of Chloe asleep in the hospital bed with a pulse oximeter glowing red on her finger. The anger I felt was not hot. It was quiet and exact. Grant had wanted to make me look dramatic. Instead, he had handed us a case. Carla moved fast. By Monday, she had spoken with Amelia, Denise, and a food safety specialist who could explain cross-contamination clearly. By Tuesday, we had the first piece of evidence that changed everything. My parents' house had a smart security system because my father loved gadgets he barely understood. A camera above the back patio door had a wide view of the kitchen island. It recorded Grant standing beside Aunt Marlene before dinner, lifting the lid on the crab bisque and grinning. The audio was not perfect, but it was clear. He said, perfect. Nora is going to lose her mind. Aunt Marlene asked, are you sure this is a good idea? He answered, relax. She will not eat it. I just want everyone to see how ridiculous she is. Then the camera showed him carrying a bowl to my seat, setting it directly in front of me, and later dipping bread into it while leaning over the children's side of the table. He had created the danger and moved it around like a prop. The second piece came from Amelia. She had once worked as a paralegal, and she wrote a detailed statement while the memory was fresh. She included the exact words Grant used, the moment Chloe grabbed the bread, and the fact that no one warned the children. The third piece came from Denise. Her statement was clinical and brutal. She wrote that Chloe showed visible signs of anaphylaxis, that immediate epinephrine was medically necessary, and that Grant minimized the emergency while care was being given. The fourth piece came from Aunt Marlene's texts. At first, she claimed she deleted them. Then Amelia reminded her that deleting evidence after a child was hospitalized would look terrible. Suddenly, the messages reappeared. Grant had texted 2 days before Thanksgiving. Are you bringing that crab soup again? Marlene replied, I can, but Nora cannot be near it. Grant wrote, that is kind of the point. She needs to get over herself. Bring the strongest version. I want the whole table to smell it. When I read that, I had to put my phone down. I knew my brother was arrogant. I did not know he had planned my humiliation days in advance. Then Tessa, Grant's fiancée, called me. Her voice was low, like she was trying not to cry at work. Grant had told her I was threatening to ruin him over a misunderstanding. Then she found a group chat on his tablet. In it, Grant wrote, "Thanksgiving is going to be hilarious. Nora acts like crab vapor can kill her. I am going to put her allergy drama on trial." One friend replied, "Do not actually kill her, man." Grant answered, "Please. She will fake cough, and mom will baby her." Tessa sent screenshots to Carla and said, "I work in HR, Nora. I have fired people for less than this. I cannot marry a man who thinks safety is a punchline." The evidence file grew thicker. Medical records, photos, texts, camera footage, witness statements, my own documentation of the rash on my wrist and the anxiety attack I had 2 nights later when I opened a can of soup and had to sit on the kitchen floor until I could breathe. I also lost a major consulting contract with a private school because I was too shaken to travel for the inspection. Carla included that too. Meanwhile, my family tried to rewrite reality. My mother left voicemails calling it a terrible accident. My father said Grant had learned his lesson. Grant sent one final message before Carla blocked direct contact. "If you do this, you are dead to me." I stared at it and realized he still thought my greatest fear was losing him. He did not understand that the brother I wanted to keep had never really existed. When Carla called 13 days after Thanksgiving, her voice was calm. "We have enough to file. What do you want?" I looked at the evidence across my dining table. Every page proved I was not dramatic. I was right. I said, "I want mediation first. I want him in a room with every fact he tried to bury." The mediation office in downtown Portland looked designed to make disasters feel civilized. Beige walls, glass doors, silver coffee dispensers, and a receptionist who smiled like families did not come there to split themselves open over conference tables. I arrived with Carla at 9:15, wearing a navy suit and long sleeves to hide the fading marks on my wrist. Amelia arrived with her attorney and Chloe's hospital records. She hugged me and whispered, "Thank you for not letting them erase this." Grant arrived last. He wore a charcoal suit, an expensive watch, and an expression of wounded dignity. My parents came with him. My mother looked like she had been crying all morning. My father looked furious. Tessa came too, but she sat near the door, not beside Grant. Her engagement ring was still on her finger, but the diamond was turned inward. The mediator began with the usual language about privacy and resolution. Grant interrupted before she finished. "I want to say I am sorry," he said, turning toward me with rehearsed wet eyes. "I never meant for anyone to get hurt. I was teasing my sister because that is how our family jokes. It was stupid, but Nora knows I love her." Love had become such a useful word in that room. A blanket thrown over sharp objects so nobody had to see the blood. My mother reached for my hand. "Honey, please. We can fix this without destroying your brother." I moved my hand away. Carla opened her folder. "Ms. Whitfield is not here to discuss feelings. She is here to discuss liability." Grant rolled his eyes. "Liability. This is what I mean. Nora turns every family issue into a safety lecture." Carla did not blink. "You turned a family dinner into an allergic exposure involving a child. We will be precise because precision is kinder than denial." Then she laid out the evidence. Photos of the bowl at my place, the bread on the floor, the soup on my sleeve, and Chloe being treated by paramedics. Denise's statement, Amelia's statement, the hospital report, the text messages with Aunt Marlene. When Carla read, "That is kind of the point. She needs to get over herself," my father closed his eyes. Grant whispered, "That is out of context." Carla said, "Then you will appreciate the video." She placed a tablet on the table and pressed play. There he was in my parents' kitchen, laughing beside the crab bisque. Perfect. Nora is going to lose her mind. The room watched him carry the bowl to my seat. The room watched him dip the bread. The room watched Chloe reach. The room watched him fail to stop her in time. Grant's face changed as the video played. Not because he finally understood what he had done, but because he understood what we could prove. Carla let the silence sit. Your defense appears to be that you expected only your sister to be humiliated, not a child to be harmed. That is not a defense. That is an admission. Grant slammed his palm on the table. I did not know Chloe had any allergy. Amelia stood up so fast her chair scraped the floor. She did not need an allergy for your behavior to be dangerous. You brought crab to Nora's face. You waved contaminated food around children. My daughter became collateral damage in your ego contest. Then Tessa spoke from near the door. Grant, tell them about the group chat. His head snapped toward her. Tessa, do not. Carla slid printed screenshots across the table. Thanksgiving is going to be hilarious. I am going to put her allergy drama on trial. Do not actually kill her, man. Please. She will fake cough, and Mom will baby her. My mother made a sound like something had broken inside her. My father stared at Grant as if seeing a stranger. I finally spoke. If your boss told you he had a seafood allergy, would you put crab soup in front of him to see if he was lying? Grant said nothing. If a client's child had a medical condition, would you wave contaminated food near them to prove a point? Nothing. Or did you only do it to me because you thought your little sister was trained to absorb anything and call it family? His mouth opened, then closed. There was the answer. Carla presented the settlement demand. $720,000. $250,000 for Chloe's medical and therapy trust. $220,000 for my emotional distress, lost income, and safety damages. $250,000 in punitive civil settlement to avoid public litigation and possible criminal referral. Grant laughed, but it sounded broken. I do not have that kind of money, Carla said. Then litigation will be more expensive. Amelia's attorney added, and public. My father leaned forward. You are asking us to bankrupt ourselves. I looked at him. No. Grant did that when he gambled a child's breathing on a punchline. My mother sobbed. He is still your brother. I answered, Chloe is still a child. The negotiation lasted 3 hours. Grant raged. My father argued. My mother begged. But evidence does not care about family roles. By the end, Grant agreed to the settlement with my parents as guarantors. The agreement included a no-contact clause and written acknowledgement that the incident involved deliberate exposure to a known allergen risk. His hand shook when he signed. My parents signed after him, faces gray. Then Tessa stood, walked to the table, and placed her engagement ring beside Grant's copy of the agreement. He whispered, Tess, please. She said, I work in human resources. I spend my life deciding whether people are safe to keep around others. You are not. Then she left. Grant looked at me with pure hatred. Are you happy now? I gathered my folder and stood. No, I said. I am safe now. There is a difference. People think revenge feels like fireworks. It does not. Real consequences are quieter. They arrive in emails, canceled contracts, closed doors, bank forms, and people who stop answering your calls. Grant learned that over the next 6 months. The first thing to go was his job. His company sold premium kitchen equipment to hotels, restaurants, and private clubs, which meant their reputation depended on food safety and trust. By the second week after mediation, the story had traveled farther than Grant could chase it. Officially, he was let go because leadership wanted to move in a different direction. Unofficially, nobody wanted a regional sales director tied to a deliberate allergen incident at Thanksgiving dinner. He tried to call it family drama. He tried to say I exaggerated. But the phrase child hospitalized after crab prank survives every public relations trick. The second thing to go was his lifestyle. The expensive watch disappeared first. Then the leased SUV. Then the golf membership he used to brag about at every birthday dinner. He sold furniture from the condo he and Tessa had planned to share after the wedding. He moved into a one-bedroom apartment near a freeway, where the walls were thin and the parking lot lights flickered all night. My parents paid the first settlement installment by taking out a home equity loan. My father called me once. I did not answer. He left a voicemail anyway. You have no idea what this is doing to your mother. I deleted it before he finished. For years, I had been expected to understand what Grant's cruelty did to everyone except me. I was done translating my pain into their inconvenience. Aunt Marlene suffered too. Her home catering business depended on church referrals, office parties, and neighborhood trust. After people learned she had brought crab bisque to a dinner where she knew I had a shellfish allergy, bookings dried up. She insisted she had not known Grant would take it that far. But that is the problem with helping someone load a weapon and pretending you did not know they might point it. She sent Amelia an apology letter. Amelia returned it unopened. Chloe started therapy because for weeks she panicked whenever adults carried soup near her. Doctors later said her allergy was probably mild and triggered by concentrated exposure, but Amelia hated the word mild. There was nothing mild about watching your child fight for air. As for me, I had bad days. The settlement did not magically restore my sense of safety. For a while, every shared meal made my chest tighten. I checked labels 3 times. I stopped accepting food unless I watched it being prepared. Sometimes I woke up hearing Chloe cough in my dreams. But unlike before, I did not tell myself I was dramatic. I got therapy. I took time off. I let my hands shake when they needed to. Then I built something from the wreckage. I used part of the settlement to launch Safe Table Design, a consulting studio focused on allergy safe food spaces for schools, small restaurants, childcare centers, and family event venues. I designed kitchen traffic plans to prevent cross-contamination. I helped cafeterias create color-coded serving tools. I trained staff to take allergies seriously without making children feel ashamed. My first major client was a private elementary school whose principal heard about Chloe's incident through a parent group. She told me, "I do not want to wait for something terrible to happen before we do the right thing." That sentence stayed with me. It was the opposite of my family's philosophy. They waited until harm became undeniable, then asked the harmed person to be quiet. My business grew faster than I expected. A local magazine featured safe table design in an article about modern school safety. The headline called me the woman turning a family nightmare into safer lunchrooms. Grant saw the article. I know because 3 days later, Carla forwarded an email from his attorney. Grant wanted me to sign a statement saying the Thanksgiving incident had been a misunderstanding so he could use it in future employment discussions. He did not ask whether I was healing. He did not ask about Chloe. He asked me to soften the truth so he could sell himself again. Carla asked how I wanted to respond. I said, "No statement, no contact, no revision." Around the same time, Tessa mailed me a note. It said, "I should have seen the signs earlier. Thank you for forcing the truth into the open. I hope you build something beautiful with your freedom." I kept it in my desk drawer because it reminded me that consequences can protect more than the original target. By spring, Grant had taken a commission-only sales job for a warehouse supply distributor. No client dinners, no golf, no hotel lobbies where he could perform importance, just cold calls, inventory sheets, and a manager 10 years younger than him who did not care who he used to be. My parents still invited him to Sunday dinner. They still did not invite me. That hurt less than I expected. Maybe because for the first time, absence felt safer than belonging. Then one afternoon, Amelia brought Chloe to my office. Chloe saw the cafeteria layout on my table and asked if I was making a lunchroom where nobody got teased. I knelt and said, "That is exactly what I am making." She nodded seriously and said, "Good. Grown-ups need rules too." Out of everything that happened, that might have been the truest sentence anyone said. 1 year after that Thanksgiving, I stood in my Portland office with rain tapping against the windows and a school cafeteria blueprint spread across my drafting table. Outside, the sky was gray, but inside the room was warm with desk lamps, paper samples, wall charts, and the quiet hum of a business I built from a night meant to break me. Safe Table Design had 4 employees now. We had contracts with schools, childcare centers, and restaurant groups that wanted real allergen protocols instead of tiny disclaimers at the bottom of menus. On the wall near the entrance, I kept one sentence from our training manual. Safety is not sensitivity. Safety is respect. I wrote it after a principal asked me how to explain food allergies to staff members who thought parents were overreacting. I told her to stop making the conversation about fear and start making it about dignity. No child should have to almost die before adults believe them. No guest should have to laugh along while someone tests their medical boundary. No family should use the word joke to cover behavior that would be called reckless anywhere else. Chloe was doing better. Amelia sent updates every few months. Chloe had become the kind of little girl who checked labels, corrected adults politely, and told classmates, "My body has rules, just like yours." That made me cry the first time I heard it. She had learned caution without shame. That mattered. Grant, from what little reached me, had not learned as gracefully. He was working in warehouse logistics, making less than half of what he used to earn, living in an apartment he hated, and telling anyone who would listen that his sister had ruined his life. The irony was almost funny. I had not put crab soup in front of anyone. I had not waved contaminated food around a child. I had not tried to throw away evidence. I had simply refused to absorb the consequences of his choices. My parents still had not apologized. Sometimes my mother mailed holiday cards with nothing inside except her name and my father's. I did not respond. At first, silence felt cruel. Then it felt clean. I had spent too many years confusing access with love. Just because someone shares your blood does not mean they are entitled to your table, your forgiveness, or your nervous system. That was one of the hardest lessons to accept, but also one of the most valuable. The world teaches people, especially daughters, to keep peace at any cost. Smile through the insult. Be patient with the bully. Forgive, because family is family. But peace without safety is not peace. It is surrender. The final settlement payment cleared in late November, almost exactly a year after the incident. Carla sent a short email. Case closed. I read it 3 times, waiting for triumph. It did not come. What came instead was a deep, steady calm. I closed my laptop and walked into the training room where my team was preparing a workshop. On the table were mock lunch trays, color-coded labels, allergen cards, and practice scenarios for teachers. One scenario asked, "What should you do if a student says they cannot eat something, but another adult says they are just being picky?" The answer was simple. Believe the student. Remove the risk. Ask questions later. That was the education my family never gave itself. That was the valuable knowledge I wished someone had protected me with when I was young. That was the value I wanted to give every room I entered now. Revenge is a word people use when they do not want to say accountability. They call you bitter when you keep evidence. They call you dramatic when you refuse to minimize harm. They call you cold when you stop protecting the person who hurt you. But protecting yourself is not cruelty. Telling the truth is not betrayal. Making someone pay for the damage they caused is not destroying a family. Sometimes it is the only way to stop the damage from spreading. That Thanksgiving, my brother tried to make my allergy the punchline. He wanted the table to laugh at my fear, my caution, and my boundaries. Instead, he taught everyone exactly why those boundaries existed. He lost his job, his engagement, his reputation, and the golden child throne he had sat on most of his life. I gained a company, a voice, and a life where nobody gets to decide my safety is inconvenient. I do not celebrate what happened to Chloe. I never will. But I honor what she survived by making sure other children are believed before they are hurt. I honor what I survived by refusing to sit at tables where love comes with humiliation on the side. As I locked my office that evening, rain shining on the sidewalk, I thought about the bowl of crab soup, the laughter, the screaming, and the silence that came after. Then I thought about the cafeterias we had redesigned, the teachers we had trained, and the children who would never know our names but would be safer because we did the work. Some consequences arrive faster than an ambulance. Others take time, paperwork, courage, and a willingness to be misunderstood. But when someone treats your life like a joke, the lesson should be unforgettable. Not because revenge is sweet, but because accountability can save the next person.